And she's trying to help her mother, who erroneously believes that the Sabbath began with Adam and Eve.
Stella, I came right over because you said something about you needed some help explaining the Sabbath, where it came from with your mother. What's going on?
Yes, Juliet. You know how I told you before I know the truth. My family and I, we observed the Sabbath weekly. Actually, for me, it's from childhood. But my mother is now worried that I have stopped observing the Sabbath. But what really bothers her most is that the Sabbath is a command from God to Adam and Eve, even right to our time, mankind. So can you help me so I can explain to her that this is not from the Bible?
Sure. And let me start off by saying, Stella, you know, many people believe, just like your mother, that the Sabbath originated with Adam. Actually, to be honest, I used to believe it myself. But let's find out from the Bible, really, the origin of it, when it began, and why was it set up. You probably remember when we studied Genesis chapter 2, verse 3, it talked about Jehovah resting from his creative work on the seventh day. You know, I think that's probably why many people think that that was some type of Sabbath rest for mankind. You remember that?
Yes, I do. Yes. And I remember he said only God rested, not Adam rested.
Exactly, exactly. So what we have there is a statement about, as you just said, what God did. Jehovah rested from his creative works, not something being given to Adam, mankind, to rest. But what we do have is an account showing in the Bible where the Sabbath began, how it began with the nation of Israel, which was really some 2,500 years after Adam. But let's go to the Bible at Deuteronomy chapter 5, verse 15. I'd like to show you that. And this type of information you can go over with your mother later in detail. But would you read that? Deuteronomy chapter 5, verse 15.
Okay. It reads, remember that you became a slave in the land of Egypt, and that Jehovah your God brought you out of there with a mighty hand and outstretched arm. That is why Jehovah your God commanded you to observe the Sabbath day.
So, Stella, according to what you just read, who became a slave in the land of Egypt?
The Israelites.
Exactly. And notice what you read. It said the Sabbath was given to the nation of Israel as a way for them to reflect on deliverance from coming out of Egypt. But there was no mention of Adam, no mention of the Garden of Eden there.
Yes, I see. I recall we studied this.
Exactly. Stella, the scripture you just read, what was the very first word in that scripture?
Remember.
Remember, you know, that's key, that word remember. The Sabbath was given because Jehovah wanted them to remember how he brought them out of Egypt. The Sabbath was to be a day of special worship to Jehovah so they could reflect deeply on what Jehovah had done for them. You've heard the saying, always remember, never forget, no matter how far you go in life, always remember where you came from. Well, Jehovah wanted them to remember where they came from and how he brought them out of Egypt.
Yes, I see that clearly now, and I think this will help me to explain to my mother, and she will also understand.
Well, good, but there's one last scripture I'd like to share with you, and what it does, it just reinforces again that the Sabbath was given to the nation of Israel, not to Adam, and that's found in Exodus chapter 16, 23 and 29, and when you get that, would you read that? Because it talks about, remember we studied about them picking up manna on 6 days but resting on the seventh. But let's just read that.
Okay. 23, it reads, at that he said to them, it is what Jehovah has said, tomorrow there will be a complete rest. And 29 reads, take notice of the fact that Jehovah has given you the Sabbath. That is why he's giving you the bread for 2 days on the 6th day. Everyone must stay where he is. Nobody is to leave his locality on the 7th day.
So again, we see from these scriptures that the Sabbath was given to the nation of Israel. It was never even mentioned about, this was the first mention of the Sabbath with the nation of Israel. So in conclusion, can you see how it did not start with Adam, but the Bible shows it began with the nation of Israel?
Yes, thank you so much, Juliet. This refresher course on Sabbath has really helped me, and it has helped me. I will explain to my mother, and I'm very sure she will understand.
Well, good, good. I'm glad it was able to help your dear mother.
Thank you.